So I'm sorry this is going up so late in the day. I usually get them out a lot earlier, either on Thursdays if I can, or earlier on the day on Friday. Unfortunately, yesterday, by the time this was up, I was at work, and by the time I got home, and I was much too tired to have time to be able to do this since I didn't get home until almost 9 o'clock. And I would not have been able to do this with as much mental fortitude as I would have liked to be able to do the chapter review. And then this morning I actually had a funeral I had to go to. My great aunt on my grandmother's side passed away a week or so ago. And today was the funeral, and it was here in town. So I was at the funeral this morning, and I would not have time to have gotten the chapter done before the funeral. And then, it's like all the socializing afterwards. And I actually, two of my cousins were at the funeral as well with their parents. And I have talked to them quite a bit about Brenda. So I was like, hey, since you guys are in town, do you want to, I can drive you over to the house and you guys can meet Brenda. And they really liked that. So I brought them over and they got to meet Brenda. And she was very good and very sweet. And they very much liked her. They also liked getting to see like the plushie tree that I have down in the living room, along with all the other tchotchkes and everything else like that my mom and I have collected that is on display in the living room and the backyard. And then I had to take them back to where the funeral was. We did not leave during the middle of the funeral. We left during like the socializing time frame and got back in time for pictures. And then I got back here and then I had to take her for a walk. And now I'm going to record and hopefully get this up. I don't know when, hopefully reasonable time. We'll see. If anything, so what? So, as an apology, I have a flower. Hopefully it doesn't wilt like the ones that end up near Shocky. It's actually broken. One of the petals on the back fell off. I just have to glue it back on. I just haven't gotten the time to do that. Also, I forgot that it was broken because this just lays on display. It doesn't really do much. So, we have chapter 1156. One Piece titled Idols. I came up with two versions of a thumbnail for this. And then so many people were using like the same type of thumbnail of it being Shocky. Not that I blame them because she was the one that I used for the two possible thumbnails, and I'll show them later in this video. And then I went with a different one. That is the two piles of letters that you probably saw before you clicked on this. And those will get explained in a moment. So, first we have the cover page, which is a color spread. Which is just a nice color spread. It's Luffy in the middle with Nami like lounging behind him drinking one of her whatever fruit smoothie drinks things. And then we have Zoro and Sanji, and then we have Rayleigh and Scopper. And then we have like Roger in the back doing the he laughed and like Luffy smiling and laughing. And then we have like the rest of the Straw Hats are in like Brooks sitting on Luffy's hat, Robin and Chopper are on his shoulders, and then like Frankie, Jinbei, and Usopp are sitting in like pockets that Luffy is like carrying on him. So it's just like a nice thing here. Also, I saw a great comment about this color spread because I'm a Luna fan. I love Luffy Nami. I ship them. And someone said, in a chapter where we learn a bit about Roger's love life, it's fun the fact that the color spread literally has Nami and Luffy at the center of it, with Nami looking at Luffy like he's a snack. And I'm like, not going to argue with you there. Into the chapter itself, still during the whole Loki hurled the rocks, whatever flashback, whatever variation, this would be 44 years ago. Is the time frame that this part is taking place, and it's adding a bit more context to some of the other characters that we have seen throughout One Piece but haven't gotten too much of like their backstory beyond the snippets that we've heard. So we're actually going to learn a bit about the Kuja pirates at the moment, and it was back in those days certain idols roamed the seas, and we just see like this random kingdom, and it's like That was some pirate attack. Hearts. Why aren't any of you fighting back? You guys are useless. And we cut into the kingdom where we see that there are just a bunch of guys that have been beat up, being yelled at by their wives, girlfriends, mothers, whatever. And all the guys are like beaten up and they all have heart eyes because they all got beat up by pretty girls that were the Kuja. And it's just like, they've taken everything. You men are useless. They were strong. You didn't lift a finger. Now what are we supposed to do? Like, the Kuja pirates just showed up to this kingdom and just robbed them blind, and the men did nothing. We even see that it's like, even the Marines could not oppose this group, and it's like the Marines with just like heart eyes. Now, these guys are not like turned to stone the way that Hancock does it. These guys are literally just like struck dumb by the beauty of the Kuja pirates. And we cut to the, I'm assuming it's like the prior variation of the Perfume Yuba, which is the name of the ship that the Kuja pirates have. And they've got like the Yuba snakes that are like the snakes that like, you know, sail the ship, that like carry the ship, that pull the ship. We saw them way back when the Kuja pirates were first introduced during Amazon Lily. Since Amazon Lily itself is in the calm belt, is in one of the calm belts, that means that they don't have any currents or wind or anything like that, so they have to have something that can propel their ship. And they didn't have, you know, Vegapunk to design them their motor ship, so they have the Yubas, the giant snakes, that, you know, pull their ship so they can sail through the calm belt and into the Grand Line or the Blues or whatever, into, I don't remember which blue bordered that area of the of Paradise, but like, you know, they sailed there and then they can sail back and everything else like that. And it's never stated, but I'm assuming that the Yubas at the snakes are kind of like somehow have like a homing beacon so they can always find their way back to Amazon Lily. You know, like kind of how like the minks can always find Zoe type of a thing. Because like, I don't know how much the, you know, how much the Kuja would have to like Viva cards or like eternal poses or something like that. I don't know. And it's like, they were known as the Kuja Pirates, a crew that hailed from the elusive Isle of Women, a fierce and stunning pirate band off limits to men. And we just see like a bunch of these like much more previous, several generations back, like 2-3 generations back, of like the Kuja just like, oh, with their heart eyes as they're looking at their current empress as she's walking around. And it's just like just like all the way that like the Kuja like look at Hancock and everything like that. Because for the thing that they show when it comes to the Kuja is that for them, strength is beauty. And Hancock is not just their empress because she is, you know, the most beautiful woman in the world. She is also the strongest of all the Kuja. She, you know, she has Conqueror's Haki, Armament, and Observation Haki. She can use all three. She also has her Maranomi, and she is also just quite strong in general. And, you know, so she is the strongest because of that, because of all of that stuff together, plus her own strength in general. And she is considered the most beautiful physically and also just powerfully as well. And that's the way that the Kuja view it, because they're based on Amazons. And it's like, we hear the Empress at the time talking, I grow weary of my own beauty, day and night. It always goes this way. Will I ever be free to shed it? And it's like her posing and everything, and it's Gloriosa. It's the young version of Gloriosa. For double checking for notes for this chapter, I have done a video about Gloriosa in the past. I don't remember if that was, I don't know if I did that video before or after we found out that she was a confirmed member of the Rocks Pirates, but it may have been something that we thought maybe she may have been a member of the Rocks Pirates, given the fact that she seemed to be somewhat a contemporary of, like, Roger and such as well, like, that same era, and this is confirming it. I mean, like, that's been confirmed already because we saw in the God Valley flashback that, you know, Gloriosa was part of the Rocks Pirates, and we get more of that here for how she ended up there, beyond just, like, the Davy back fight setup that we got with the previous chapter for how Rocks gathered a bunch of his crew members. But we have her here, and it's, the very young, beautiful version of Gloriosa. Not the withered old hag, as Hancock likes to refer to her. And also, the other thing is, like, we do not know Gloriosa's actual age. I have looked it up, and we do not know. Given the way that she is drawn by Oda, and I will go over this a little bit later in the chapter for comparison, but I'm assuming she's at the very least, because, okay, so for a few of the ages that we absolutely know, Big Mom is 68, Shocky is 64, Roger would have been, how old would have Roger have been? Like 60. He died 24 years ago. Was executed 24 years ago. Roger would have been like in his late 60s. Same thing with like Rayleigh and Scopper. Because Scopper's 70 and I think Rayleigh's like 71 or something like that. And Roger would have been right in that same age range as well. Same as Garp. And so it's like, all of that stuff. But the thing is that, we don't know Gloriosa's age. I would say she's probably in like her 70s or 80s, just given how she's drawn. And how Oda tends to draw most older women. Although, as I said, Shocky is 62 or 64. And she's drawn, like the same way that, Oda draws like, Nami and Robin and such. Except maybe makes her feel a little bit more mature for how she carries herself and stuff like that. But like we have Gloriosa posing here, and she's like, will I ever be free to shed it? This picture of perfection. I love her. And we get the info box, and it's Empress of Amazon Lily, Captain of the Kuja Pirates, Gloriosa, future Elder Neon, because she's Granny Neon is like the way that she's introduced to us in the story. And then like just through stuff that she says, it's kind of like, oh, she's a former Empress of the Kuja as well. And like we just see like how beautiful she is, and it's like all the others are just like, oh, Captain Gloriosa is a goddess. And like, just like so many of the other Kuja are just like, oh, she's unbearably cute, I'm in love, her radiance is making my mind to go blank, my heart can't afford to beat this hard. Just like, I love like how they're all overreacting, just like how she is. It's like the same way of like, I don't know, I'm trying to think if there's like people at concerts and stuff like that for like Taylor Swift or for, Ariana Grande or like other stuff like that where it's just like, or like a, like a pop, like a J-pop or a K-pop or whatever. Just like, oh my God, it's them. Like just how they act in that regard. Like that idol status that these people have. So I love that. I still also have like K-pop Demon Hunters on my mind. For various reasons. It was a really good movie and the music's good. But like they have like that, oh my God reaction. And, so we see Gloriosa here and we see like this other Kuja, this younger Kuja with short black hair running up with like a pile of letters in her arms. And she's like, Empress Gloriosa, here are your new fan mail letters. And she's like running over and she's like, Tritoma, what about those back there? So, first of all, when I was first skimming through the chapter, I had initially thought that this was Shocky for a second. Because it's short black hair and it's a Kuja. And then I'm like, no, this is Tritoma. And Tritoma is a character that we have only met in one of the SBSs so far. We've heard about her in the manga, but this is our first time actually seeing her in the manga. So Tritoma is the former Empress of Amazon Lily. She is the Empress who preceded Hancock. So the order that the Empresses go is Gloriosa, Shocky, who we're going to see in a bit, Tritoma, and then Hancock. So that's the order that the four most recent ones go in. We don't know anything about anyone before Gloriosa's reign as the Empress of Amazon Lily at that point in time. But we have Tritoma running up here. And as I said, she was just introduced in one of the SBSs. Someone had asked what was the name and what was, who was the previous Empress before Hancock, and Oda answered that this is Tritoma, and she died of the love sickness. She's one of the Empresses who has actually succumbed to the love sickness and died. in the process. And in this bit, we have her running up, carrying, and like her little Oda box in the next panel is Tritoma, future Empress of Amazon Lily. And so she seems to be at least in her mid to late teens at this point in time. I don't remember exactly, because like during Amazon Lily, we see lots of different ages of Kuja going off on the ship. And we also see, Marguerite and Sweet Pea and Afalandra, who are still on the island, and then later they end up being part of the groups that make the visit to Ruskaina to see Luffy and then to help deliver Luffy back to Saba Odi after the 2-year time skip, because they're the ones who like befriend him first. And like we see that, but I don't remember how old some of the other Kuja were at that point in time. For like they looked like they had like younger ones on the ship, and then there was like other ones that stayed on the island, and I'm assuming they like rotate who's on the ship and who's not on the ship, beyond like certain key members of the crew, besides Hancock and her sisters and stuff. But we have Tritoma running up here, and she's just got all of these fan mail letters that are for that are for Gloriosa, and then Gloriosa's like, what about those ones over there? Those ones back there. Who are those for? And Tritoma's like, oh, those are for Lady Shaki. And it's just this huge frickin' pile of letters. And I'm sitting here when I'm reading through this chapter, like when I was looking through it the first time. And, just like reading the spoilers and then like seeing the pictures, I'm like, I got Miracle on 34th Street flashbacks, because just like that huge pile of letters in the background for Shaki just made me think very much of the scene, the end of the courtroom trial scene in the original Miracle on 34th Street, when like the lawyer is just like, I have these 3 letters from the post office declaring Kris Kringle to be Santa Claus, and he's like, well, I have more, and the judge is like, put them here on my desk, and then it's just like, okay, and they just step aside and like just like bag, like officer carrying bag after bag after bag of just letters and just pouring them on top of the poor judge. All of these letters for Santa, addressed to Santa Claus, Saint Nick, everything else. I just like, this just made me think of that, with like just like the judge being buried in the letters and having to like dig his way out. That's just what this made me think of. And then Gloriosa's like, there are 100 times more, because she's upset that like Shaki is getting so many more letters than she is, when she is the one who is the captain. She's the empress. She's supposed to be the most beautiful, and she's just like like the Oda thing with like the girls puffing out their cheeks, angry. How could she upstage? How could she upstaging her own captain is total betrayal. And then, like, the other Kujo is just like, even her angry face is like an icy gem. And then we see another ship sailing into the panel. And it's just like, indeed, the only one said to outshine the radiant Gloriosa, the star of her era, was none other than her first mate, Shakuyaku. And I went over this because I've talked both about Gloriosa and Shaki in videos when I was discussing for the Royals and Rulers and Leaders series that I'm doing, where I was discussing Amazon Lily, and I discussed both of them. I think I gave each of them their own videos. I think I did. But if you want to go find them, look back on the list, you'll find them. Don't remember how long ago they were out, but they're out. I think it was at least after we knew that Shaki was a former empress. I think it was at least after that had been revealed to us that I remember talking about that. Well, if I talked about it, then I would have been that way. But that was like after we got that information after Wano. But, so it's like that type of thing. So, Shaki, a lot of the different characters in Amazon Lily are named after different types of flowers. Marigold is a type of flower. Gloriosa is a type of flower. Shakuyaku is a type of flower. Hancock is even a type of flower or a type of berry. They're all named after like different types of flowers or berries or plants or something like that is what they are all generally named after. So we see the ship sailing into view, and one of the other Kuja is like, Captain, enemy ahead! And Gloriosa is just like, oh, that's just like the hearts coming off of her. And it's like there's the probably a transponder snail megaphone setup going on here from the Roger pirate ship that has shown up, and it's just like, hello there, it's me, Roger speaking, hand her over, Kuja pirates. And they're like, it's the Roger pirates, and we see the Oro Jackson sailing up to them. I don't remember if we ever got an exact age on like how long Roger has had the Oro Jackson. This is 40 something years, or like 44 years ago, and he has the Oro Jackson here. Or 44 years ago, 45, whatever years ago, and he has the Oro Jackson here. So presumably he's had it for quite a while. Still don't know where the ship is currently, but we see Roger with a megaphone that has a little snail on it, so it's really literally a transponder snail megaphone, which is adorable. And it's just like, today is the day we finally win her from you. We're taking your first mate, Shakuyaku. And he's like screaming about it. It's young Roger, looks very much like Ace in this picture here. This would be him just a little bit younger than we just saw him recently in the God Valley portion of Kuma's flashback, when him and Garp and the rest of the Roger Pirates and the Marines were shown up at God Valley and everything when Rox attacked. So this is just like a couple of years prior to that. And Gloriosa is just like, you never learn, Roger. Isn't being loved by a woman like me enough? So there were lots of thoughts about like who Gloriosa, because like it's stated that Gloriosa has had the love sickness in the past, and she left the Kuja pirates to pursue said love, just like Shaki did, although Shaki got her happy ending and Gloriosa doesn't, unfortunately, in this regard. But Shaki got her happy ending to a degree with Rayleigh, and there was lots of thoughts about like who Gloriosa's was. Was it Rox? Was it Whitebeard? Was it Shiki? Was it, Silver Axe or Don Marlin, I guess, would have been a possibility. But no, it's Roger. Roger is the one that she had the love sickness for. And so this is confirming that, and we have the two crews coming head to head in their ships, and they're like, screaming at each other, and we see one of the doors on the Kuja ship get kicked open, and it's like, who are you? Who did you come to take again? And it's coming out, and they're just like, oh my god, it's Shaki! And she's walking out, and it's just like, they say her every move was captivating. And we see several of the Roger Pirates, we see Scopper, we see a couple of the other ones there. Just like their eyes, just like all heart eyes again. The other Kuja are just like, oh my god, it's Shaki! It's Lady Shaki and all that stuff. And they're just like, oh my god. And like we get this great double page spread for like this entrance for young Shaki. And she like has kicked her way out of her room and is making her way over, and she has presumably either jumped onto the Roger Pirate ship or they've made their way onto the Kuja ship. I'm not sure which. And she's just like, oh, Gabon. And she, like, does, like, one, like, how Hancock fights with, like, her kicks and stuff like that, like, her perfume femur and stuff like that, for how she will, like, kick her enemies and then, like, petrify them at the same time. Shaki seems to have that same type of fighting style. To be fair, we've never really seen much of Shaki's fighting style, or really any of Shaki's fighting style in the past. When she's first introduced to us at Saba Odi, when they show up at Shaki's ripoff bar, when Hachan takes them there, she's beating up a customer who would not pay his bill, because it's her ripoff bar, and she will rip you off of all of your money, and whatever else she wants. And, that's how we're introduced to her, but we haven't seen her fight. She didn't interact during the battle with the pacifistas when the Straw Hats first showed up. We didn't see her do anything when her and Rayleigh arrived on Amazon Lily to help Hancock and the resident and the Kuja there. And we haven't really seen her do any type of fighting. So this is the first time we've seen her do anything that is like fighting. And she's like doing like one of the really big kicks that going into splits in a somersault type of a thing, or in a cartwheel, just like kicking Gabon, and he's just like, just hearing you say my name is, and it's just like, calm down, dude. To be fair, this is way before Scopper has ever met Ripley, so fair. And like, so he's just like, oh god. And then Shaki just like turns, and she's like, long time no see, Roger. And he's like, how dare you do that to Gabon? And he's trying to attack her with his sword, and like, he's not even like, we see him like shaking as he's trying to do it, because he doesn't actually want to like hit her. And she presumably just whacks him upside the head, kicks him or something, just the way that she just did to Scopper, to Gabon. And he falls to the ground, wilt on his head, hearts in his eyes, his sword, Ace, stabbed into the ground or the ship or whatever floor next to him. And it's just like, damn it, I like Shakiyaku too much. As he's just like laying flat out looking up. And it's like this great upshot of her. Which just like as how tall, because Shaki's always been, tall. Not as like, super weird, over the top tall, and she's more close to human size, which always looks tall, normal human size. Hancock is tall. I don't remember how tall Hancock is, but she's rather tall, because she's taller than Luffy. And Luffy's like 5'8" or something like that. He's not that much taller than I am. And like, it would kind of be like an upskirt shot, which I'm sure the anime is going to play with when they get to the scene for fan service purposes. And we see her, like, she's lighting one of her cigarettes, and epic pose, and like slamming her hand next to Roger's face. And she's like, her beauty humbled even the mightiest of warriors. And she's just like really close to Roger, like, oh, like, teasing him. She's like, you should know I'll never submit to another's captivity. And she doesn't. Or at least to the best of her knowledge. Her and Rayleigh are very much in love. They are legit married. Or at least, common law married at the very least. In regards to their current situation. I don't know if they've had the whole marriage ceremony, but they're at the very least common law married, for time served, together. And, I love that she's like, I will never submit to another's captivity. It's like, no, marriage should not be viewed as captivity. Her and Rayleigh are each other's type of a thing. And he's free to go and do whatever he wants to do. She's free to go whatever she wants to do. I'm sure that's part of the arrangement that they have. And although the way that the Kuja seem to be portrayed, particularly like what we see with Hancock, and such, is that once they fall in love, that love seems to have a very hard time dying. And I'll touch on that a little bit later. So, and we get like the full body shot of her. It's like Shakuyaku, first mate of the Kuja pirates. And like the other is like, oh my god. And she's like, take their treasure to, take the treasure that the Roger pirates have. And it's like, one of them, you can take my soul while you're at it. And Gloriosa has gone over to Roger and is like trying to like, Roger, I'm the one who likes you, right? The whole way that there's lots of comparisons being made here in the fandom for like, Gloriosa to Roger, the way that like Hancock is to Luffy, in that regard. And I'm like, okay, yeah. Pointing out here, Roger did not end up with Gloriosa. He did not. He ends up with Rouge, and then he ends up being executed. But Rouge was the one that he went to go spend his last amount of free time with and had a child with, and asked Garp to look after said child. So there's that. Roger did that. Roger does not seem to have any interest in Gloriosa here. He's like, out of my way, Gloriosa, you're blocking Shaki. And she's just like, like not happy about that. And Roger is just interested in Shaki at the moment. The other thing that a lot of people have been making comparisons to is or at least one of the ones that I've seen on Facebook, is like Roger had Ace with Rouge, and that Roger had Nami with Gloriosa. And I'm like, no. That's not how that worked. Nami is 20, and I'm going to do a little bit of, math and some stuff for you. Okay, fair enough. Rouge was pregnant for 20 months. She held Ace in her stomach for 20 months in order to protect him from being a possible candidate as Roger's child during like that whole, slaughter of the innocents setup that they were doing there with the Marines going after any woman who was pregnant. In what could be approximate time frame of like, in that area where Roger had been, and she, kept Ace hidden for 20 months, and then she died like right after giving birth to Ace. Gave birth to him, named him, gave him to Garp, died. That's essentially what happened. We do not know how old Rouge was. She may have been, this is 24, 23 years ago by that point in time. 22, 23 years ago at that point in time, by the time, Ace is born. I don't think that Rouge would have been as old as Roger. I think she would have been a bit younger than him. And also, we don't know how Rouge and Roger met. But, like, they point that out. Like, I'm pointing that out here. Nami is 20. And by some chance, Gloriosa had a child with Roger. And maybe pulled what Rouge did and, kept the child hidden, stayed pregnant for that amount of time. That would have been pregnant for 60-something months. 60, 70 months or something like that. That would have been being pregnant for like 5 years, because Nami is 20. That would have been pregnant for like 4, going on 5 years at that point in time, by the time that would have happened. And we don't know of any time frame that Roger would have been around Gloriosa during that time frame. He left the Roger Pirates and went to go be with Rouge, is our understanding of it. I don't think he would have also stopped off at wherever the heck Gloriosa would have been at that point in time, because she was in exile from Amazon Lily, because she did not return to Amazon Lily until she returned with Hancock and her sisters to escort them back, and then she was welcomed back by Tritoma for bringing the girls back, as I went over in in the other videos there. But she would have been pregnant for quite a while to even hide that. And the other thing that I would point out for that concept is, okay, Gloriosa would not have had a reason to hide her pregnancy. The dog's growling in the background. Gloriosa wouldn't have had a reason to hide her pregnancy. And, like, if anything, she could have tried to go back to Amazon Lily earlier, and Nami would have been born there if that's what they want to go with. Also, Gloriosa does not strike me as the type of person who would then abandon her child that is the product of, her love for the man that she's in love with. She doesn't seem like she would abandon her child to do that. And Nami was raised in the East Blue. She was found in the East Blue on the Oikot Kingdom as a baby by Belmare along with Nojiko, and that's there. People are just coming up with a weird theory here, and I'm like, yeah, no. I'll give the Croco Mom Luffy thing more validity than Gloriosa and Roger being Nami's parents. But back to this. I just wanted to address that. But the other thing is, like, we have Gloriosa here fawning over Luffy, or Gloriosa fawning over Hancock, the same way that Hancock fawns over, we have Gloriosa here fawning over Roger. I'll get it correct eventually. Fawning over Roger the same way that we see Hancock fawning over Luffy. And Luffy, while he is friends with Hancock and he considers her a friend, and an ally, he does not view her in that romantic light. She has asked him multiple times if he would marry her, and he has said no so many different times, and all of that. And as I said, I am a Luna shipper. Lunala. I'm a Pokemon shipper. Well, okay. I'm a Luna shipper. Nami and Luffy shipper. And I point that out here. Okay. But and I love the fact that like Roger and all the other guys are like interested in Shocky. And Shocky, she just like flirting with Gabon, like flirting with Roger, and then she turns and she's like, take their gold, take their treasure, and then she turns and she sees Rayleigh. And she's like, Rayleigh, it must be so hard for you. And he's like, yeah, I'm surrounded by idiots. Give him a scar line. Great job there. And she just like winks at him. And then he's like, oh God, I do like her. Damn it. So it's like, she is not interested in anybody else. She sees him. She likes him. And it is stated later on that she had the love sickness as well. And she left it in order to pursue Rayleigh. That may just not be something that has happened here yet. She was just like, I like him at the moment. Or like, well, maybe I like him. It hasn't turned into the love sickness yet. Next page, we have it that it's like, Empress Gloriosa, it's the Navy! And we see one of the Navy ships appearing, coming up, making its way up to the two other ships. And it's like, get moving with the loot. Don't leave a single crumb behind. And they're like, on it. And then it's just like, hey, at least let us keep some of the food. And then it's just like, over the loudspeaker again, we've spotted the Roger and Kuja pirates. And it's just like, quick, snap a picture. It'll be worth a fortune. Knock it off. So it's again, just like guys just trying to sneak pictures. And it's Roger's like, hurry it up. We've got to set sail. And then it's just like, Scopper is just like, hey, Roger, isn't that Garp ship? And he's just like, wait, did you say Garp? And it's just like, all right, men, new plan. Crush 'em. And we get double panel. Roger on one side, pirate, Gold D. Roger, future king of the pirates, and father of Ace. And then we see Garp, young Garp, very similar to how he looks in the God Valley flashback, holding one of the cannonballs that he likes to chuck at his enemies. Vice Admiral Monkey D. Garp, future hero of the Marines, and grandfather of Luffy. I like how it doesn't put father of dragon, grandfather of Luffy. Nope, just father of Luffy. Or just father of Luffy. That's just funny. It's just funny. And then we get another double page spread, and we have it that like the Kuja ship is just sailing off, and the Roger pirates and the Marines, it's Garp ship, it's his dog ship that we've seen before. And it's just like, Meteor Fist! And Roger is just like, Matama, Ara Mitama. And that is a reference to the violent kind of spirit in Shintoism. So it's a reference to Shintoism, kind of like, he has like Kamusari, which is the divine departure. And like the ship is sailing away. It's like, it just had to be Garp ship, didn't it? And it's like Roger and Garp just yelling at each other. Garp! Roger! Just like fighting each other, punching each other. It's just like, very, just like both of them fist cocked, Garp's fist all hockeyed up, Roger's sword all hockeyed up, fighting each other and everything else like that, just like slicing at each other and punching each other and everything. Roger, Garp, and Rox. Three who would be spoken of as legends in the great pirate era. But at this time, their blood burned with the passion of youth. And we cut back to the Kuja ship as it's sailing away, and it's like, what the? Empress Gloriosa! Thud! And it's like, the Kuja were at the height of their popularity at this time. No one could speak of this era without mentioning them. I love the fact that the context of this, because like the whole setup here is that like obviously it's like the narrator is coming out and narrating this and giving us more information than like what Loki would know, because like Loki's not going to know a lot of this stuff because he was like a kid at the time. But like I love the whole context that is like, as like Tekken keeps pointing out in his videos, is like this whole flashback that we're getting, all of these chapters is taking place in like 3 minutes. And I love that people are making like artwork of this where it's just like Loki still laying down there and like talking and like going into explicit detail about stuff and just like very, detail, and Hardin is just like sitting there like, oh god, make it end. Like, I gave you 3 minutes. That was up like 2 hours ago. He's like, no, I have to explain the context of everything. There was this other pirate crew. They were called the Kuja. They were beautiful women, or so I'm told. And, like, I love that concept. But, like, so it's just like the Kuja pirates are just so popular during this time frame. And I know that we've gotten Hancock's bounty in the past, and she's got a new one now since the warlord system has been disbanded. But I don't think we ever got a bounty for Gloriosa or a bounty for Shocky. That could be something that gets revealed at some point in time. I'm quite certain that with like the prominence of some of these characters now, with like Gloriosa and like some of the others, Oda's probably going to get some SBS questions about them, like how old is Gloriosa, and how old was Tritoma during this flashback, for like setting up for like how old she would have been like roughly when she passed. And what were like their bounties for the other empresses of Amazon Lily, for Gloriosa and Shocky and Tritoma? What were their bounties as pirates and stuff like that once they were like, what were their their highest bounties at the time? Is probably a question that's going to get asked at some point in time. And we cut to the ship where we see Shocky holding Gloriosa, and Gloriosa is like kind of the like passed out from, it's like passing out, very, oh god, the way that like we saw Hancock get when like the love sickness was hitting her. And she's like, oh, sister, hang in there. She's like, my heart aches. And they're like, oh, those two are so dreamy, for like the two of them together. And then we have many saw them as idols, and their wanted posters fetched a high price. Stalkers taking creepy shots became a daily nuisance for the crew. Soon after the encounter, Shakuyaki was crowned empress, and her popularity continued to grow to an unimaginable level. So this is supposed to be when Gloriosa is fully hit by the love sickness that she has for Roger. And of course, we know that she's one of the ones who does not fight it. She maybe tries to fight it for a short bit, but then she's like, no, I'm going to go out, and she's like going to, go out and assumedly try to pursue Roger. Pursue this love, not fight it and hide it away like some of the other empresses have done, like Tritoma did. And we know that Shocky later on will end up doing the same thing, because she goes to be with Rayleigh. And then we also know that Tritoma eventually dies of it, and Hancock has actually embraced it by, not hiding her, adoration and love and obsession, unhealthy obsession, with Luffy. So we see that in the story, and we're seeing that here. And, we see Shocky here just looking very beautiful and everything else like that. And, she would become empress. Now we're coming back to Elbath. And it's just like, Ida's Tavern, Elbath. So it's like, I saw Loki drowning after the ship capsized. He's always acting up so badly when you're not around. And we see like just one of these other, probably just one of the usual fishing vessels from, Elbath. And we see a bunch of all of the, like, we see Harald and a bunch of the other giants standing out on, like, the shoreline. And presumably what just happened is Loki tried to, sail the ship away, and it capsized, and they had to drag him back. And he's just like, I honestly wondered whether I should help him or not, is like what one of the captains is. Sorry, and thank you for saving him. Loki, pull yourself together. And it's Harald just like trying to, Loki's laying there on the ground just like, and now we have Ida is just like chewing out the ship captain, the fisher captain, who literally just looks like a typical captain that you would come up with, like, the hat and the He kind of looks like, oh, what's his name? Drake from Pokemon, I think is his name. No, maybe it's not Drake. I don't remember. It's one of the dragon trainers in Pokemon. He looks like him. The one that's like the ship captain. And it's just like, what the hell? You shouldn't have even hesitated to help. How would you feel if Loki had died? And it's just Ida chewing the guy out. And Harald's like, calm down. Come on, Ida. Loki's the one who selfishly took the ship and sailed off. And she's like, so what? If he can just stand by and let a kid die, I'll drag him under and drown him myself 100 times over. And then Loki's just like, I didn't ask anyone to save me. And we see the captain trying to jump at Loki and his first mate's like pulling him back. And it's just like, damn it, that's a piss poor attitude I was talking about. And then we have Ida just like looking down at Loki. And again, we're getting like her size comparison to him. She's smaller than him. And he's like, you lost your mom and your dad's always quite busy. I bet you must get pretty lonely, right, Loki? And he's like, shut up, you old hag. And then we see Hyrule standing next to Harald. And she's like, wouldn't it be better to stay with us? So she's like offering for Loki to come and stay with them whenever Harald's not around. And Loki and Hyrule are just like, no way! She's like screaming about that. And Loki's like, I'm on to you, Ida. You're just acting all motherly, so we'll let you move into the castle, aren't you? You're just a gold digger. I don't know where I exactly want to put that. It might legitimately be Loki thinking that that's what Ida wants. Like, that's why she got with Harald in the first place and why they have Hyrule and all of that stuff is to try to, like, you know, get money out of Harald, get money and status out of Harald. This is like, oh, like, if, like, something happens to Loki while he's under my care and he dies, then, you know, Hyrule is, you know, the only remaining heir to that throne type of a thing. So maybe that's kind of what he thinks. Maybe that's just from everybody whispering in his ear about Ida that don't like her, that are like the old guard of Elbath that don't like Ida for stupid reasons because she's an outsider. And we have Hyrule just like, screw you, Loki, like pulling up a like training sword and getting ready to like stab Loki in all honesty. And Harald's like, what you said is unacceptable. Apologize right this instant. How dare you don't you care how Ida feels? And she's just like, oh, you kids are just too cute. She's like, you're so cute. And I like how she doesn't take any of that seriously of what Loki said. She's like, oh, you're just so cute. And then Harald's like, you're being too sweet on him. It's like, don't be so sweet to him. And then we have this little girl showing up, and she's crying, and she's like, I hate how he says such mean things you stupid Loki. And she's like, Motto, are you crying for me? And it's this is Motto. This is, you know, she's the little girl that's, you know, the one that we see as, like, the bartender at Ida's tavern during Elbath. What we saw when we visited Elbath, when we saw Shanks at the bar where Colin was. This is a little Motto. So she's maybe around the same age as like Hyrule and his group, give or take. And I'm kind of, you know, again, it's like we don't know if Ida is currently alive in the story or not. She could have died at some point in time. Maybe that'll be something that we'll see in the flashback, is Ida dying. And there goes all the theories about her being the voice on you know, her being, you know, Mosa, being Shaggy that he's talking to. But the other thing for that is, like, and I would like that, but it could also just be, like, she had to move away, things got too dangerous for her there or something, and then Motto kept the tavern going. And she's like, Motto, are you crying for me? The world is full of kind and beautiful people. And then Loki's just shouting, I'm sick of this goddamn country. Every single one of you is weak and dirty. I'm going to be free like rocks. So again, it's like, this is a lot of like Loki has, you know, all he had growing up was like his mother didn't want him. His father's away so often that Loki's barely around his father. The steward, who was his uncle, you know, Ida's brother, you know, would, you know, harass him like every day and berate him every day for like, you killed my sister, blah 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 blah, useless little whatever. And just like was just horrible to Loki. So we have that for how he's grown up. And it's just like, from then on, each time Rox visited to try to recruit Harald, Loki would attempt to join Rox's crew. But he would ultimately never get his way. And just like, aren't you happy I'm going to follow him out to sea? Aren't you happy I'm going to follow him out to sea? Because I hate all of you right back. So Loki just like hates being on Elbath. And given the fact of everything, it's like, okay, he's raised as a prince, because he is the prince. But again, he is literally lonely. He has no one around him to like that he thinks legitimately cares about him beyond using him as a tool to like step their way to the top or to make their to help themselves or whatever. That's all he's thought about, because that's essentially what Estrid did. Was that's what Estrid and like the others who set up the marriage did, was like, oh, this is to keep the bloodline pure and blah 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 blah. So several months after the Rox crew took over Pirate Island, so we cut back to Hachinosu, and as we saw in the last chapter, the skull doesn't quite look right yet. It looks more like a fish, as it's going to get said in a moment. It doesn't have the eye holes, and even like the thing off to the side isn't quite as like defined as like like a bandana or something like that. And it's just like, where the hell did you come from? It's just like, I'm here to join the Rox pirates. I don't know what accent that was. I'm sorry. And it's just like, yeah, maybe in your dreams, but it ain't gonna happen. You won't ever lay eyes on them. And it's more of the pirates. It's just like, the Rox pirates are the ocean's all-stars of evil. I don't think I would qualify Gloriosa as evil or Whitebeard as evil. Okay, I gotta put Big Mom at least somewhere on the spectrum. Same thing with Kaido. Stussy, Miss Balking, I don't know. Some of the others, we don't know enough about them to determine whether or not they were evil or whether or not they were just power hungry. Greedy. And it's just like, see that fish-shaped boulder over there? That's where they're said to be held up. Be holed up. And we see this like cloaked figure is like walking his way through the island, and it's just like, if you're dead set on meeting them, head that way. It's like this hillbilly looking pirate. But the deeper into the island you go, the madder the bastards get. Good luck with that, Death Wish. And the guy, some guy kicks him, kicks this hooded, this hillbilly kicks the hooded figure, which is just a bad idea. And this guy just grabs him and just like wraps his whole hand around this guy's head and is like crushing it. And we see this guy, oh god, very large, very muscular, is wearing like a kimono that has like axes all over it. He's got like this giant axe on his back, so we finally have Silver Axe. Although he's gonna have a different name here in a second. And he's got like sunglasses that have like X's on them, and he's got like a huge tattoo. Kind of looks like he could be Don Krieg's father. I would make a comment about him being related to like Psy, but he's not. Or at least he doesn't quite look like it. But like he's this guy's big and impressive, and it's like Kyo the Wicked, future Silver Axe, and it's just like you're Kyo the Hitman. It's like, that's Shiki's what's Shiki's rival doing here? Stay back, he'll kill ya. It's like, so we get like this connection between Silver Axe and Shiki, because it's Silver Axe, and then it's Shiki the Golden Lion. And he kind of has a bit of Wano flair to him. So again, I don't know. And then we cut up, we hear this huge explosion, and we look up and we see that the fish-shaped rock just had two giant holes like punched out of it, knocked out of it, right where the eye holes are. And they're like, what the? It's like rocks are raining down on them. It's like, what of you? Look at this scenery. Blasting a couple of holes in this place was the right call after all. Ain't that right? And it's rocks just like having knocked all of this rock out of the way. Rocks beating rocks. And it's just like, as I was saying, there's two devil fruits I'm after. One of them's most likely on Elbath. It'll only show its true power if Harald eats it. Now, there is the whole theory that this is the Gomu Gomu no Mi, that this is the Hito Hito no Mi sun god Nika that Luffy ends up with, that this devil fruit is one that has been like passed down throughout the generations of Elbath, assumedly waiting for someone who could embody that spirit of Nika again. And that just hasn't happened yet. Like, that person hasn't been around yet. To be fair, even at this point in time. Although I mean, Harald having that devil fruit isn't exactly, like, unlikely. But we just haven't seen any demonstration that Harald has a devil fruit. We also haven't seen any fully demonstration that, like, Rox has a devil fruit either. So he's mentioning that there's two devil fruits he needs. One is supposedly on Elbath, somewhere that Harald might be able to get to it. And then we cut to, we're going to get, like, a bit more of, like, a lineup of this full crew, supposedly, of the Rox pirates. So we have Pirate Captain John. And it's just like, we'll need those Galila folks too. I've heard the legends, but... So, this is, of course, referring to the Galira that we heard about in the previous chapter, about the giants who, were like this giant group of shipwrights that would go about and are supposedly stuck in ice, the ones that are possibly the giants we saw in Punk Hazard. And we have Pirate Charlotte Linlin, future Big Mom. And I did go through, and I did ages on all of these guys, so I will go through those in a moment. But we have Charlotte Linlin, and it's just like, I'm using all my contacts to try and track them down, but there's nothing about a frozen army of giants. And this is, of course, the young version of Linlin, because she's only like in her 30s at this point in time. 20s, late 20s, I think, actually. No, it's 44. She's 24, I think, in this time frame. Then we see Whitebeard. So, like, even if you find them, what good are a bunch of corpses now? Well, you don't have Moria. And then we have Streusen, Pirate Streusen, Linlin's partner in crime. So Streusen, of course, has known Linlin since she was 6 years old, with everything that happened with the sheep's house, the lamb's house, and everything, and Mother Caramel and everything. He's been looking after her ever since then. There is a bit of a what if of, like, what if Streusen hadn't been on that island? If someone better had found Big Mom, had found Linlin in that very emotional distress state. Like, if someone else had found her and helped her, like, what would happen? He's like, exactly, there's no way to bring him back. And we have assumedly Rox in the background. Shut up, we're talking about dreams, don't be a downer. And it's like, even if they didn't come back to life, they'd have no reason to, even if they did come back to life, they'd have no reason to listen to you. And we're getting a new, well, kind of new. We saw this guy in the double page spread that we saw of the Rox Pirates when they were first on God Valley, but we never got a name on him, and we get a name on him now. Pirate Barbell, Catfish Fishman. Barbell. And then Rox is like, yeah, it's like, well, true. I mean, like, he's got a good point. Barbell has a point. It's like, sentence I never thought I'd have. Barbell has a point. Barbell has a point. Like, yeah, if they did come back to life, why would they listen to Rox in the first place? And he's like, that's why we need Harald. He's the current king of Elbaf. He's the king of the giants. We have him. They'll listen to him. They're sworn to Elbaf. You get the idea? It's like what what Rox is pointing out. And then we have Kaido, pirate Kaido, future king of the beast pirates, king of the beasts, captain of the beast pirates. Will eventually get punched out by a giant fist wielded by Luffy. Current location. And he's like, can't we just use our strength to force them to obey? We can do the same thing to that Harald guy, too. Rox does not like that he said that. Rox just straight up kicks Kaido. It's like, never say that again, brat. It's like, calm down, Rox. And Rox is just screaming at him, why you? And it's just like, Kaido, you two, stop it. And, like, we see Shiki and Captain John kind of getting in between them. And, like, Gonzui's trying to hold back Kaido. And he's like, we just got this island. Do you two want to turn it into ruin already? A group like this is bound to implode sooner or later, but this ain't the time. And then, I mean, they're right. The group is going to implode sooner or later. It does. Technically. And, it's like the way that, they're described, I think it's by Sengoku, it's like, they're this crew that would just, like, backstab each other because they weren't built on camaraderie or anything like that. They were built on, Rox just going around and being like, I beat you, so I'm going to take you. I beat your captain in a contest, so I'm taking you. I beat you, so I'm taking you. I beat you, I'm taking you. Essentially. Gloriosa may have been one of the ones that willingly joined Rox, and the way that it's described in a minute, is like, where the strong gather, more will show up. So it's like, Rox gathered a bunch of these other strong crew members around him. I love you, I'm almost done. Rox gathered a bunch of these strong crew members around him, and then possibly made deals with the others. Linlin may not have fully set up her, pirate crew at this point in time yet, and that's why her and Stroyson are here. She would have already had several of her kids, and there are the theories that, Rox was a father of maybe one or two of her kids, that Shiki was the father of, Montdor is one of the theories. Seeing Barbell here, he's a fishman, maybe he's the father of, one of her, fishermen children or merfolk children. I was gonna say maybe like Opera and his group, the quintets or the quintuplets, that group of 5, but I don't remember exactly how old they are, so I don't know if they would be able to fall into the right time frame for this to be happening, for where that would happen. And there was the whole thought that Kaido was the father of Katakuri and Daifuku and Oven, that he was their father. That was fully disproved. Kaido was not old enough to be their father, and Linlin would have already had them by the time she met Kaido in the first place. Is some of the thoughts here. There's the thought that Whitebeard's maybe a father of someone here. Maybe Captain John's the father of one of her kids. Since Pound's the only husband or father we've met of any of her children, we don't know. That's always one of the thoughts there. It's just well, she was around a bunch of these really strong pirates. I mean, why not have kids with them? Type of a thing. There was a whole theory about Yamato being Kaido's child, or being Big Mom's child with Kaido, but I have a whole video where I disprove that. So we have Captain John going here. Right, let's hold off on that till we cash in a little more. Get it, you horned-headed rookie. So that's directed at Kaido, because Kaido was the rookie. He's the apprentice pirate. He's the youngest one on the crew. And then we have Rox going Harald, my good pal, I'll crush you if you say that crap again, Kaido. So I do like this. Harald kind of views Rox a little bit more of okay, he's strong, he has interesting ideals, but he's not a good influence on my son whatsoever. Also, he's killed people, so I don't really want him, and he doesn't seem to have remorse for it and everything else like that, so I don't really want him around all that often. But, okay, he technically hasn't done anything to me. All blah, 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 blah. So I like that Harl, or that, like, Rox is like, no, Harald's my pal. He's my friend, and you better not backmouth him or badmouth him or anything like that, Kaido, you little whelp. Or I'll put you through the floor, you know, type of thing. That, like, I like that Rox seems to have that respect for Harald, and it's not begrudging respect, you know, like the way that some characters have for each other. It's legitimate respect. He's like, I've clashed with him. I know how strong he can be. I've seen some of the stuff he can do. He is very strong. And that's why he's not trying to force... I like that because it also is like he's not trying to force Harald to join his crew. He is trying to get Harald to join him legitimately, like, of his free will, like, willingly be on his crew. And I like that. That shows some of the other setup there for, you know, for how they work. For just, like, a little bit more into, like, Rox's mind. As I said, and I'm going to, you know, we're going to get, like, the big layout here of, like, all of the characters here in a second that are, like, the members of the Rox Pirates. In this great double-page spread. And so we cut down to that, and it's like, listen up, you lot. Elbath is the key to bringing down the Holy Land. If any of you don't buy that, then get lost. It's your choice if you want to stand with me on this day of destiny. But if you've got the guts, follow me. I'll take you to the World Summit. And we get this great double-page spread here where we have Rox in the center, and then all around him, and, like, we have, like, their flag pinned to the wall. And we see Sunbell, or not Sunbell, Barbell over here. We have Gonzui over here. We have Whitebeard and Don Marlin and Ochoku and Shiki, and we have, like, you know, Bucking, Miss Balking, Stussy over here. We have Big Mom, we have Kaido, we have Captain John, and we have Streusen. And it's, like, this great epic spread here that just looks awesome. So, like, the only member that we don't see here is Silveraxe, because presumably he's, you know, making his way through the island to go and, like, talk to them, to go and see about either, said something about him being Shiki's rival, so maybe fighting Shiki. Or just wanting to show up and see if, you know, if Rox is strong enough that, you know, Silveraxe wants to join him. That, like, Kyo, the hitman, wants to join him. And then we see, you know, just like Rox just laughing his head off. And I wanted to go over a little bit, as I said, of the ages of the known ages of the characters. So, at this point in time, the Rox Pirates lineup that we know of 44 years ago. So, Rox, we do not know his current age or anything like that. Whatever age he is here in the manga at the moment, we don't know. Whitebeard is 30. Shiki, for as long as we've known about him, we honestly don't know how old he is. Oda has never come out and explicitly stated how old Shiki is. We have Miss Balking, or Stussy, Buckingham Stussy, here, and she is 32 years old at this point in time. We have Don Marlin. We don't know how old Don Marlin is. We have Ochoko. His age is unknown. We have Gonzui. His age is unknown. To be fair, currently dead. Doesn't matter. We have Lin, who is 24 at this point in time. We have Kaido, who is 15. As I said, he's the youngest member of the crew. We have Captain John, who, again, we don't know his age. We don't know how old he is at this point in time, or how old he was when he died, or anything like that. We just know that eventually his crew mutinied and killed him because he was a horrible captain. We have Gloriosa, again, age unknown. We have Streusen, who is 48 at this point in time. And we have Gil Bastar, who is one of the other ones that we found out recently was a Rox pirate. We don't know his age. We have Barbell. We don't know his age. And we have Kyo the Wicked, or Silveraxe is his other name. And we also don't know his age yet. But presumably at the moment, this is going to be like the full lineup for the Rox Pirates. Which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 of them, I think, is the total there for how many rocks pirates there seem to be, at least at the moment. Again, we don't know the ages of all of them. That's kind of one of the things where it's like, and also like Gloriosa, so that's like 14. We know that Gloriosa eventually ends up being on the rocks pirates as well. As I said, presumably what happens is like she leaves the Kuja because of her love sickness, and she has to go out and, you know, can pursue her love, pursue Roger in some shape or form. Eventually ends up making her way to the point where she is on the rocks pirates, and, you know, joins them, and, you know, in an attempt to, like, well, Roger, you know, Rox and Roger fight a lot, so if I'm on Rox's crew, I'm more likely to run into Roger because Roger won't let me join his crew, type of a thing. So that's presumably, like, what's going on there, is my thought. So, I didn't mean to surprise you. I'm sorry, boo-boo. Sorry, baby. So presumably that's what's going on there. That is also the end of the chapter. My throat is dry and I'm thirsty. But that's what I have. I thank you for watching. There's supposed to be a break next week, so I don't know if I'm going to have a Devil Fruit video or a movie review video up. I don't remember which one I have set to go up next week, but we're supposed to be break week. Hopefully the week after that we're back to the Yamato cover story and we can learn a little bit more about whoever the heck's, you know, grave that was that we're going to visit in the Ringo region. I get to go to the zoo tomorrow. Yay! We're going to go to the zoo tomorrow, me and my family. My family and I, however you want to put it, are going to go to the zoo tomorrow, so that'll be fun. So that's what I have. I thank you for watching. I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye!